What's Good podcast.
Are you ready?
Hey, ladies and gents, this is your girl, Brianna Jovahn, and we are here with a new episode of What's Good podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Last week, we didn't do a video only because I had a sinus infection, but this week, it's kind of clearing up. You can probably still hear it a little bit, but I am feeling much better, and we are back at it. So thank you so much for tuning in. Usually, I would introduce a guest at this point, but this season, I just want to just focus on me, you guys getting to know me. I allow my guests to be vulnerable. So I think it's time for me to be vulnerable and share different things that I'm going through within my journey. That's personal and or business. I just want to, share it and use my own platform to discuss those things with you guys. So with that being said, let's get into today's topic. And really it's just about living life. Sometime last month, I can't remember, but my uncle had passed away. And it really was an emotional situation for me in just several different aspects, right? One of the aspects is that my uncle was my granny's brother, and there's 14 of them, 7 boys and 7 girls. And right now there's only 5 of them living. So me sitting there around my family, attending the funeral and looking at the slideshow with all the siblings, it just really gave me a wake up call that anything could happen at any time. With my uncle, it was a sudden death. It wasn't like he was sick or in hospital, in the hospice, or anything of that nature. It was a sudden death. He was dizzy and he ended up, basically falling out. I don't know anything past that. I think he actually hit his head on something when he fell out, but for the most part, it was a sudden death. We wasn't expecting it. So me sitting there with my family, just really thinking about certain things, I was just like, geez, like life can happen at any time for anybody. He was the baby out of all of them. So for me, I was just like, geez, this is really happening for the family. So moving forward, I was just in my feelings, just thinking, what can I do to just live my life and just make sure that I am doing what I want before I leave this place. And it was a self reflection moment because, as I mentioned a few episodes back, I'm going to Mexico. And I never just really flew into the country, but it's crazy how, as far as the difficult times with finances and things of that nature, I am making it happen. I know this is something I want to do. I plan for it, and I'm making it happen to actually go out there to Mexico. So for me, it's just like when I was working that 9 to 5 and having that safety net and really doing what I want to do, I'm actually really doing what I want to do as an entrepreneur. I'm spending more time with my family. I'm traveling. Now that I'm in a situation to where I can go out the country because I now have my passport and things like that, me just saying that out loud. I did not even think about having a passport when I was working my 9 to 5. But me being an entrepreneur and finally getting me a passport, it means the world to me because it's like I actually have time to do it. I can create space for me to do it. All I gotta do is just tell my clients, say, hey, this is what's happening, and I'm out. We have deadlines. Give me everything that you need as far as, tasks and whatever the project is, give it to me before this time if you need it done. So when I'm out, I'm leaving my computer here. So I don't have to worry about vacation time, putting in vacation. I don't have to put, sick time, PTO. I don't have to worry about that. So I'm just very grateful to be in this predicament. I just never thought that I would be here. Me doing my 9 to 5, I always say, I want to get my passport. I want to get my passport. I want to do this. And I never did it. But me being an entrepreneur, it allowed me just to give me that extra motivation to get my passport. So I was just really, really excited to just, living life, you guys, basically is all I'm saying. Whatever predicament that you are in, just sit down and just figure out what you want to do. If you want to start a business, if you want to travel, if you have a friend or a family member that you haven't spoken to in a very long time, reach out to them. I'm gonna reach out to us like I'm a part of the fam, but reach out to them to say, hey, how are things going? You've been on my mind, especially if you've really been thinking about them too. Just hit them up and just say, hey, how are you doing? I know with my family, An uncle and aunt of mine mentioned that they don't know some of my cousins as they're getting older and they're not remembering a lot of things anymore. Just, they call it a slight case of dementia. And so for me, I was like, we need to get the family together so they can really see, the cousins that are my age. They see my older cousins, but the cousins that are my age, they don't really know them that well. So for me, it's like, okay, how can I get the family together so, the elderly, as far as our elders, can see them, as far as seeing the kids, seeing the cousins, seeing the nephews, what nephews and nieces. We want to make sure that everybody is included. So going back to just living life, family and friends are a part of that too. It's not always about traveling. It's not always about business, but just keeping that close knit communication with your family and friends is important too, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this, time is not on our side. A family member can pass away and you're like, dang, why didn't I reach out to them? I was just thinking about them. Why didn't I reach out when I thought about them? So it's important to do those things. But going back to business, that burning desire that's just in that gut, don't continue to wait on doing it. Just do it and just get started. It's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. It's never going to be the right time to do anything. So just go for it and just get started. You may have family and friends within your community or in your network that can actually provide you resources on how to get started. But if you don't open your mouth to just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, nobody's going to know what you got going on. I know for me, I didn't tell anybody about the podcast, but instead I went to YouTube. So think about the different resources that you have to just get started. I know a lot of people, what they're doing now, which doesn't really make sense to me, they go ahead and claim their domains so they can say, okay, well, I got this one step started. So it may not make sense to everybody, but as long as it makes sense to you, just get started with that one thing. So if you're going to get a website, go ahead and I think GoDaddy.com or Squarespace, whatever you want to purchase it from, but go there and just purchase the domain so nobody else can get it. Go downtown. I know for Dallas, you go downtown and purchase your DBA. Go ahead and go get it. But just do that first step in initiating the task to accomplish your goals. So the initiation is key to just getting started, just taking that one step. As mentioned, time is not on our side. We definitely got to do what we got to do. So reach out to your family, reach out to your friends, and just let them know, hey, this is what's on my mind. You never know who's going to pour into you. You may even get a mentor, go to different events. There's a lot of free networking events. Just go to Eventbrite and put in business, and there's so many events that are happening within your local community. But if you don't put yourself out there, nobody knows what's going on other than you. So you have to put yourself out there to say, hey, this is what I'm working on, but I don't know where to get started. Sometimes our pride gets in the way, and then that's what prolongs us from moving forward in life. So make sure, like, you just put your pride to the side and just be honest with yourself to say, I need help. We don't know the answers to everything. So use your resources to get started, whatever business venture that you have been wanting to start. So definitely reach out and just do what you need to do to get those goals accomplished. So we talked about business, we talked about relationships, and really it all starts with us. There's only 24 hours within a day, so just make sure that you take advantage of whatever that is. If you're like me, go ahead and get a to-do list to get certain things done and make sure that you stop at a certain time so you can spend time with family and friends. Especially if you want a vacation, definitely put it on your calendar to say, okay, in August, I'm taking off. I don't want no phone calls, no computer, no nothing to get started. But as I mentioned, it really starts with you. You have to sit down with yourself to make these goals, to create those boundaries so you can go on vacation. But it starts with you to figure out what you want to do. A lot of people are doing bucket lists to remind themselves, okay, before I leave the earth, this is what I want to get accomplished. So start off with the bucket list. Some people do a to do list, some people do a bucket list, whatever works for you. But just remind yourself that time is not on our side. There's only 24 hours in a day. And if you want things to get accomplished, you got to make sure you do it. So, as mentioned, there are a lot of things that we can get caught up and get distracted in life. But if you sit down to just figure out, okay, what do I want to do? What are certain things that, as far as a hobby that I may want to get started, or maybe have an event, or get some friends together and do some brunch and just become more social? Because at the end of the day, we may have anxiety, we may have depression, but those are things that's stopping us from living our life. So sit with yourself. I think that's the number one key is just sitting with yourself to just figure out, what do you want to do? And sometimes we don't like sitting with ourselves because there's so many different things that we battle because we are our worst enemy, and we don't want to discuss those things with ourselves. But just sitting down with yourself, breathing, praying, journaling out your feelings, you'll come across things that, oh, I don't want this, but I do want to live like this. And it doesn't always have to do with the money, but just being happy, just being peaceful, just having joy in our system, we can sit down and say what that looks like. Because if you have a pattern of things that are you're not so happy with, you can spotlight those things that you're not happy with. But to get on the other side of it, you have to sit down and do some self-reflection to figure out, what does life look like for me. So live life, basically. I just want you guys to be happy. I want you to be full of joy, and I want you to spread that to other people too, inspire them, motivate them, because you never know what the next person is going through. So open up the door for somebody, tell them thank you. Also tell people you're welcome. Just spread that love, spread that light to people, because we have to live our lives, y'all. We have to have that light in us so other people can say, oh, they're doing it, I can do it too, because you never know who you're going to inspire. There may be a little boy that's watching you or a little girl that's watching you. So make sure that you live your life to the fullest, no matter what may be happening as far as distractions. Just go after what you feel. If you want to jump out of that plane, if you want to go skydiving, I think that skydiving and go jump out the plane is the same thing. But you get what I'm saying. I think, what did I do? I did zip lining a few years ago, and it was an incredible feeling. It was a lot of fun. I'm just giving you examples of just living your life and just loving what you do and enjoying what you do, and then bringing people on with you for the journey and for the ride. So that's pretty much it today. I probably kind of rambled, but this was just on my mind that I wanted to share, because it really did, hit me hard when I was thinking about my family. Out of 14, only five are still living, and some of them are sick. So it's just been really on my mind. What can I do now, since I am in the predicament, to live my life? What does that look like? Because right now I'm in total control of what I want to do as far as my time, what I want to give my time to, what I don't want to give my time to, creating boundaries for myself. So, what does that look like for Brianna to live a joyous life? So, I challenge you guys to do the same thing. Just sit down with yourself, figure out what that picture looks like, and get started today with living your life, because nobody's going to live it for you. So, thank you so much for tuning to another episode of What's Good podcast with your girl, Brianna Jovahn. If you're listening to this morning, noon, evening, or night, thank you, and we'll see you guys next time.